Everything that we do is to support our broader system to help people, again, kind of live their best life, but also be innovative in service delivery and provide the best quality of service to those in our system as possible.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest installment of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock. You guys, before I get into my guest today, I want to give you some real quick show notes on April 30th, 2025. Most of you should be aware by now that I had the privilege to be a part of a book called Trailblazing and Transforming Entrepreneurial Stories of People with Disabilities. I am chapter 5, Breaking the Mold. You can get this on your Amazon Kindle device as well as in paperback. Please check that out. I think it'll be a fantastic read. At least I know for my chapter, and I'm sure all of my authors did an incredible job as well. So please check that out. Again, you can get it on Amazon Kindle as well as in paperback. Also, you guys, please, if you would strongly consider donating 5, 10, $15 to this podcast. If you like what you hear, there is a link in the description below to do that, to pay for producing services, potentially a handicap van, and any future public speaking endeavors that I may encounter. So any donation would be greatly appreciated. Now that we got those pesky show notes out of the way, I want to get to my guests. You guys, you know I love all my guests. Today, I consider this extra special because not only do I have someone from the Department of Developmental Disabilities here in Ohio on the podcast, she's also a part of my personal team that helps with my individualized service plan and keeps me sane. She's had 21 years of experience in the disabled field. She is a community life engagement project manager. We're going to get into what all that means in a minute. Please help me welcome Kelly Shuck to the program. Kelly, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. You're welcome, and you're welcome back anytime. Kelly, can you tell the Nick Speaks listeners and viewers what a community life engagement project manager does?
Sure. So I'm the Community Life Engagement Project Manager in the North Central region of Ohio. So I work in 17 counties from Lake Erie, so Erie County, Cedar Point area, all the way down through Franklin County and Madison County and the Columbus area. And our role as Community Life Engagement Project Managers is really to support all of the stakeholders within our system to help people move towards community in whatever way works for them. We really want people within our system to have the opportunity to live, work, and thrive in their homes and communities. And so our focus is really about emphasizing community in whatever way works for that person. And we provide a lot of training and technical assistance in that area. So we have 5 community life engagement project managers that serve the different regions of the state, and then an additional project manager that leads the Works for Me project with our partners at Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. And then we have, of course, our fearless leader, our team lead, Keith Banner, and we sit within the quality and innovation team within policy at the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities.
That's awesome. So, does your job kind of deal outside the realm of county boards? Do you help your clients find services outside of the county board that may be helpful to them as well?
So, yes, we work with county board systems, we work with providers, families, people served, school systems, other stakeholders. But really, what our emphasis is really supporting people to connect to community. And so, if you're interested in working in your community, how do we help you do that and make that connection to businesses in your community and to roles that would be meaningful to you as a person? It's also about finding those areas of interest. I was just talking about the community that my in-laws live in. They have like a crocheting club. It's called the Fiber Friends. And so connecting to those local clubs, organizations, and community activities that are meaningful to people and that can help to create meaning within their lives and give them the chance to connect with other people and build relationships and be part of their community, just like you or I are part of our community.
Yes, yes, because a lot of people with disabilities, as you well know, Kelly, not only by working with me, but working with the many other folks that you do, we really struggle with isolation and depression, and we crave communities. So your work, if nobody hasn't told you in a while, is important to what you do and to what you bring to our lives. And like I said at the beginning of this, some of it is just being a person uh, that keeps them sane. You know, you have kept me sane many times. I've called you in some panics, and you're like, "Okay, let's go through this systematically. Calm down. Do you need some Taco Bell?
Pizza Hut.
You know." Cheesecake for me is a big thing. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge foodie, and Kelly and I spend about 20% of our time talking about food. Yeah. Kelly, how did you get started in the disabled field? You've been in the field for 21 years. So, how did you get started?
I actually just passed the 22-year mark, I think.
Oh, awesome.
So, uh, let's go back a little ways in my it's back in the history of the world. So I was interested in college in studying so I studied sociology, which is the it's studying groups of people and how groups of people form and
Okay.
all of that. And then that led into working in the disability field because I have a cousin who has significant disabilities. He has severe autism, and I grew up with him. And my aunt, who I'm very close to and share a lot of commonalities with, was a special education teacher. And then she teaches now that she lives in Pittsburgh. And so she actually doesn't teach anymore. She's retired, but she taught at the University of Pittsburgh. She taught early intervention and as an autism specialist. And so I learned a lot from her, and I learned a lot from the experiences that my cousin had in his life, and was really interested in supporting people with disabilities to live their best life. And I found my home initially at the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities. So I worked at the Lucas County Board for 13 years. I started as an SSA and was an SSA for quite some time. And then I worked in their adult services world with seniors for a while before privatization. And so I worked in the senior options program, and it was right at the cusp of us really talking about how do we help people engage in their community. And so I really latched onto that. I then worked in competitive integrated employment and supporting people in group employment and to obtain and maintain competitive integrated employment in the community. And then at the end of my career there, I went back and worked in the SSA department, but really focused on helping people connect to their community. So I worked a lot with travel training and Special Olympics with unified sports and our SSAs that held caseloads of people that needed support to connect to those community resources and figure out where they fit into the world. And so really that was very meaningful. And then I joined the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities in 2017. as a community life engagement project manager. And so I've been doing this work for some time. I had a short little stint in Medicaid on waiver policy, technical assistance. I learned a ton while I was there. But my passion is really with community life. And so I have been in this role since about 2017.
Yeah, and you actually answered one of my next questions, which was, did you grow up with somebody? Did you grow up around people with disabilities? And you just talked about your cousin. So you said he's severely autistic. So does that mean like nonverbal? So he's nonverbal.
He's
Uh,
nonverbal. He has um, some mental health struggles as well, and, dually diagnosed, and he has, I think, 2-on-1 staffing pretty regularly. So
oh,
he has a lot of needs. He has a
and
lot of
they're in
needs.
Pennsylvania. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But then, can I just jump in and say, I also grew up, my mom was a teacher. She was a music teacher. And
Yeah.
so she was a band director at the high school level for 10 years, and then she moved into serving students that were kindergarten through 8th grade. She had lots of students, and she also incorporated, or not necessarily incorporated, but had people that had disabilities in her classes and really fostered that, wanting people with disabilities to be included in music because it can be such a powerful piece in someone's life. And so I grew up with her and welcoming students with disabilities into our classroom. And then I would be, at the football games with her on Friday nights and interacting with people through that as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you said that your aunt and your cousin, they're in Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah, my cousin's a little north of Pittsburgh now. He thrives in like a farmer, like country environment. And so he kind of lives out in the country at this point, but my aunt lives in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to ask you some questions about that off air because that seems so fascinating. So Kelly, tell me, what are some parts that you absolutely love about your job? I'm sure you love your whole job, but what are some parts that you absolutely love about it? And what are some parts that are extremely challenging for you?
So the parts that I love, our team leads some of the statewide initiative work that happens in Ohio. And so we lead the Employment First initiative, which is really about helping people think about competitive integrated employment. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone has to go to work tomorrow, but long term, like how are we helping people so that they can have that opportunity to live, work, and thrive in their community? And one of those ways is through competitive integrated employment. And so, working with our system to help move us towards competitive integrated employment for people, and having those conversations and that regular interaction, and how do we plan and have conversations and just think about it a little bit differently than we have in the past. And then additionally, I have learned a ton in this role about Technology First, which is also an initiative through the state. Actually, Ohio was the first technology state in the nation. And so we feel very lucky to have this initiative, have an executive order that declares Ohio as a technology first state, and then be able to take that and set some benchmarks about technology within our system and how that technology can support independence, choice, and control for people with disabilities. From the simplest thing to helping somebody be able to button their shirt and their pants so that they can go to work on their own, to very high tech eye gaze technologies, and just whatever's going to meet that person's needs, helping them access that technology so that they can again be as independent as possible. So those are two of the areas. We have a lot of different things that we work a lot of different areas that we work in, but those two areas are really things that bring me a lot of joy. It helps us be on the cutting edge of services across our system and really allows us to be recognized as a state that is very forward thinking in both of these realms.
When you say, I'm going to get back to the challenging part of my question in a minute, I don't know
Sure.
if you want to think about that. But when you say we were the first state to be technology first, what does that exactly mean? Can you explain that to the audience?
Sure. So we have an executive order that was signed actually by Governor Kasich prior to Governor DeWine. He
Hmm.
signed an executive order that basically says when we are planning with people within our system, we have 100,000 people in our system right now that we're supporting. When we are doing planning from the earliest age all through someone's lifespan, that we're really looking at technology first to meet people's needs. And so, do they need, is it just that piece of equipment to help them get dressed in the morning? Is it uh, one of the speaker devices that you can have in your home that allows you to get reminders to, or medication dispensers so that people can take their medication independently? Is it helping someone um, so that they can have alone time in their home, have a doorbell system on their house so that they can see who's ringing the doorbell, or one of their caregivers can do that? Is it all the way through remote supports where someone can have caregiving that happens through that technology? And so it's really thinking about those opportunities for people prior to looking at other ways of meeting that person's needs. And we were the first one in the nation. And there are a lot of other states that have followed suit. There are a lot of states that have put waiver services in place similar to what Ohio has. We have assistive technology as a service, a waiver service. We have remote supports as a waiver service. And now we have healthcare assessment as a technology service as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about that at a recent well, I've heard about it for a while, but at a recent conference that I actually spoke at with you is where I heard about that. And so that's awesome. So is this technology first meant to replace staff completely, or is it meant to support staff with the technology?
So it's it is staffing. It's just staffing in a different way. So it doesn't necessarily replace staff. It's for people who may not need a human being right there with them, but it provides that staffing through a two-way communication device. And so we have people who have tablets on the wall where they can contact a remote support vendor and have a conversation with someone who is trained to provide services just like any other provider is trained to provide services. And so those supports that provider, that remote support vendor or provider is providing are listed in the plan. It's all about what is the needs of that person, and then how is that service, that person, on through that two-way communication, providing that support to them.
Okay. That, yeah, that makes sense. And that's totally awesome that we were the first in America to do that. I want to go back to a two-part question that I asked you. I gave you a little bit of time to think about what are some of the most challenging parts of your job where you're like, I just don't know.
So I will say this. I think Ohio is unique in that we have a county board system. There are not very many states, just a few, that have county run systems. And that is a fantastic thing for the state of Ohio. But every county has a unique culture to it. Every county has a county board of developmental disabilities. And we have a lot of different stakeholder groups within the state of Ohio. And I think one of the things that I have focused on to improve services for people is really communication among stakeholder groups. So, our county boards, our providers, and we also went through privatization to separate case management from service delivery. And so that is something that challenged our system quite a bit. And I think oftentimes it comes back to building relationships and communication. And I think those things are continuing, like, those are things that I continue to work on every day with our stakeholders to improve outcomes for people, because we really want people with developmental disabilities to live their best life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it should be all about. I want to say this as an advocate. A lot of parents with kids that have a lot of parents who have kids with disabilities think that members like you and case managers like mine and that I've had in the past, a lot of parents feel like, you guys are taking over their role. And that's not the case. It's to come alongside and say, hey, I know the future is scary for you as a parent or as a guardian or whatever. I'm not here to take over your job. I'm here to come alongside you and make this time of transition easier, even though it may not seem easier, really hard, but I'm here to make it as easy as possible. Because I feel like a lot of parents feel like, oh, you're from the state of Ohio or whatever state you may work for. You're here to take my kid away from me who has special needs. No, they are there to come alongside you and help you give your adult child, or in some cases, your young minor child with disability, the best part of life that they can have. Because I've said this many times on this program and I'll continue to say it, when you have a kid without disabilities, you're like, okay, it's my first kid, it's all new. And then when you have a kid with disabilities, you're like, it changes the ball game, as I've said, because then you have doctor's appointments. You're trying to figure out within the first 3 to 6 months to maybe 2 years to what's happening to your son or daughter, and you're trying to figure out how I do this. So it really changes the ball game. So parents, guardians, I want to say, when somebody is there to offer you assistance, don't take it as you're here to take over. Take it as, no, I'm here alongside you and we're going to go through this journey together. What do you have to say about that?
I believe that that's exactly right, right? We want to meet people where they're at. We want to walk alongside them. And we want people with disabilities to live their best life and create really those meaningful outcomes that are things just like what you and I would strive for in our own lives. I think that uniquely, team, the community life engagement team, sits within a larger team called Quality and Innovation at the Department of Developmental Disabilities. And our Quality and Innovation team is all about this. It's about supporting, we have different teams of people, but it's about supporting people served and families. We're all about supporting that planning process, the assessment and planning process, so that
Mm.
people's ISPs really capture what they want in their life. We have our community life team and we have DSP and provider support. And everything that we do is to support our broader system to help people again, kind of live their best life, but also be innovative in service delivery and provide the best quality of service to those in our system as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kelly, what do your kids think about what you do? Do they really have a grasp on what you do? And what do you tell them about, people with disabilities and how to treat them? And do they have any knowledge of what you do? I know you probably can't share client cases and all that type of stuff. What do your kids think about it?
So I have three boys. They're 18, 17, and 10. So there's a little gap in there. But my 18-year-old and my 10-year-old were born early. And so my 18-year-old was spent in the neonatal intensive care unit. He was born early. He spent 90 days in the hospital when he was born, and he had a lot of health struggles. And so I kind of lived in the system as a parent as well. He actually was on a home health care waiver for many years as a baby slash young person to support a lot of his medical needs. He had nursing staff that helped us. And so he grew up in the system a little bit. He was eligible for county board services, and now he has a different understanding and a lot of interest in what I do, as he just graduated from high school and he is going into political science and national security and intelligence. And he has a lot of interest in policy and the development of policy to support marginalized groups within our community and within the state and then the nation. And so he actually has shadowed some different things at the department and is really interested in this work. My youngest son, Nate, he was born at 25 weeks. And so he spent 122 days in the hospital and had a little bit of a different trajectory because he grew up during a pandemic. He was in preschool, like a specialized preschool through our public school system.
Right.
And so I lived in the system with him some too. He also does have an interest in what I do. And then my middle son knows a little bit about what I do. But all of them, we have ongoing conversation about uh, how to speak, how to use person first language, how to be respectful and kind to everyone, including people with disabilities, how to understand that when you're interacting with somebody, you don't know their story. And so, really, always walking in life with kindness and compassion
Mhm.
and just respect for everybody around you.
Yeah, that's really important because with me growing up, the reason why I asked you that question, so many kids when I was growing up were like, we don't know how to talk to Nick. We don't know. And to me, I still think that's ridiculous. So that's why I asked you, like, what do your kids think about what you do? Like, what do you tell them? And so it's really great that you teach them, the person first language and that we are people just like they are
Right.
trying to make it in this crazy, sometimes messed up world.
My middle son, I should have mentioned that too. His best friend, one of his couple of really close friends, has autism and is open about that fact and some of the accommodations and things that he might need. And so again, I think there's a difference too in how younger folks are integrated in school systems and how they interact with everybody. And that's made a big difference as well.
And yeah, it really does. And I've talked about this on a couple other of my programs in the past, how we need to integrate more teaching about certain disabilities because a lot of kids that don't have disabilities think in some cases that the disabilities that they're around are contagious and that they're going to get them and they're afraid. And so that's why I've said on a couple of my recent programs, it's very important to maybe have parents come in of their children's classmates, or if their children's comfortable with saying, this is what Down syndrome is, this is what autism does, this is how it affects me, this is I want to be treated just like you, these are the accommodations I need. What can our communities do to make the schools beef up teaching more about disabilities in our schools because it needs to be taught more?
So one of the initiatives that we worked really closely on with lots of our county boards and partners is called multi-agency planning. And this is something that our team facilitates and leads across the state in conjunction with our partners at Ocali. We have grant with them where we work with local communities to pull together county boards of developmental disabilities, opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, and school systems to talk about how we help students move from school to adult life. But then also how we know and understand each other's systems. We do a lot with family engagement as well. And so we are continuing to do more and do better in that arena, but I think we have 25 teams right now and there are 88 county boards. And so we'd love
Yeah,
to
a
see
lot.
those multi-agency planning teams and that coordination across systems happening all over the state. And so that, we're going to continue that work and really focus on how we can really work across systems to support people in the best way and families as well.
So you've been in the system for 21 years. Is there any desire for you to move up in the field as in higher in the department or higher in state government for people with disabilities?
We'll see what the opportunities are that come. I was excited to move from the county board system to the state to have a larger footprint. And so I am able to work in 17 counties and have, our team works a lot with grants in different areas as well, which I hadn't necessarily talked about, but we have grants to promote innovation within our day services systems. We have grants related to technology. And so we want to continue that work. But I loved being able to move from the county system to the state system so that I could have that bigger footprint. And I just want to do the best job that I can do. And I'm really passionate about this work, and I don't see myself leaving the disability services arena. This is my career. This is where I want to be. And as far as opportunities to move up or move around, we'll see what comes. Um, we'll see what comes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Director Shuck, maybe.
Gosh, that's
You're
a big jump from where I'm at. That would
no,
be large shoes to fill because Director Hauk has been amazing to work with. I've also worked with Director Davis and Director Martin, and all of them have been amazing to be
yes.
a part of their work.
Yeah, I've had personal experience. I was just coming in to the system here at the end of Director Martin's time, so I didn't get a chance to work with him as much. Hardly at all, actually. Maybe the only thing I said to him was, "Hi, hello, how are you?" And then Director Davis came in, and I had the greatest opportunity to have several meetings with him. I'm hoping more of that will happen with Director Hauk, because from what I've seen, she's a terrific director, and I love her, and I know the state loves her. Director Davis, if you listen to this, holler at your boy. I love you. You're the best. That's only just because I've spent more time with him and had a lot more meetings and was on a podcast with him, and I just think the world of him.
Director Hauk actually just announced that she's retiring. So, yep,
So
at the end of the month. So she'll be around for a little bit longer. And we're so grateful for all of the contributions that she's made as the director. And she's done an amazing job of connecting with people and streamlining our vision and services. And so we will all miss her.
so that means the governor has to appoint somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, do we want to make breaking news here on Next Week's? Do we have any ideas? Well, we did
Nope.
make breaking news because I had no idea. Well, Director Hauk, congratulations on my podcast now that you're done. Or going to be.
Would be a great interview. She has 34 years of experience in the system. So I think being on your podcast would be excellent.
We're definitely gonna get it. I have connections. Kelly's sitting right here. We're definitely gonna get it. Wow, that's fascinating. I know that Director Davis left at the end of Governor DeWine's first term, but I expected Governor Howe to stay at least through the end of his term, but I guess she's decided.
She's ready to be closer to her family and take care. Her wording was take care of people who've taken care of her. So
Yeah,
she's
which means it's time to take care of the parents or the aunts and uncles or whatever her situation is. Well, that's just awesome. I'll be right on the horn getting in touch with that new director as soon as they're announced. So, because one of the greatest ways you can be an advocate, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there in the disabled community, one of the greatest ways you can be an advocate is get in touch with the people that run your services. Because if you get in touch with the people that run your services, tell them your story, you'll be in such a better place. I know I have been. I'm not saying they give you favoritism, but just the fact that you know that they're on your team and they're not just there for a paycheck. uh and it can open up so many opportunities for you to advocate as a person with disabilities. People ask me all the time, Nick, how can I advocate? And this is how you do it right here. You get to know people like Kelly, you get to know people like Director Davis, Director Martin, Director Hauk, who I should have done a better job of getting to know, but I won't make that mistake with the Next, director, I can tell you that because anyone who's in charge of making decisions that could affect my life potentially, I want to get to know them so that they know my story, and so that they, when they have to sit behind their desk and make a difficult decision, they can say, well, how would this affect Nick? Or and put your name there. How would this affect Nate or whoever? So that they're not just making a decision without knowing the consequences that it could put on some people, good or bad. So get to know the people that run your services. Kelly, what are some words of advice that you would have for some people that are looking to go into your field?
Um, I would say for somebody that's interested in working in the disability services field, to explore what those opportunities might look like, to shadow, to talk to people, interview, to experience it through internships, apprenticeships. Our partners at Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities have the statewide initiative to employ people with disabilities in state government. And so like we are in the process of hiring 2 apprentices that have developmental or intellectual disabilities. And so I think it's really important to speak up, speak out, just like you say, Nick. Speak up, speak out, and see what this world looks like, and then find the area that you're most passionate about. We have a lot of different ways of being involved in our system of support for people. Are you interested in working in the early intervention world? Are you interested in exploring special education? Are you interested in exploring the world of work and helping people obtain and maintain jobs in the community? Are you interested in technology? There are so many different ways to contribute and to share your gifts to support people across our system. And so just really dig in and explore, and as you do that, you'll learn and grow just like we all do, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and I will say this like I've said it so many times. If you're going in this field thinking, "Oh, I'm going to make a lot of money," not at first, maybe not consistently, because what I say all the time is working with people like myself that have developmental disabilities, in many ways it's not a job, it's a calling. You have to know that you are called to do this. And if you're just looking for a paycheck, it doesn't matter if you're a DSP or if you're a community life engagement manager like Kelly. If you're just looking for a paycheck, go, and no hate to McDonald's, no hate, because I love me some McDonald's and some Taco Bell. But if you're really just looking for a paycheck, go flip a burger. And there's no shame in that. I hated that some people in the disabled community put shame on working at McDonald's and working at Taco Bell. There's no shame in that because listen, people with disabilities don't get paid enough. And McDonald's and Taco Bell, as unhealthy as it may seem, doctors, it's the cheapest food we can get. So yeah, I
This field is meant for people who want to make a difference in the lives of others. So
absolutely.
you have to have that passion. And if you do have that passion, this is a great place to be. We want to have Ohio be the best place in the nation for people to live with developmental disabilities. And so keep that in mind. And if you have that passion, please join in.
And so far it's the best. I've been here. It'll be 10 years in July. And I
Mhm.
can tell you where I came from in Indiana that we had a developmental county board, but the only thing I could remember getting was we could have someone come in for like an hour or two to give me a sponge bath, and then they could come and do respite care, but they had to use their car, and that didn't help because I was a wheelchair user. So the services from the county board, I just stuck with getting them from the state because, in some places they're non-existent. And I'm very fortunate to wake up in a place like Columbus, Ohio every day. Don't like the weather so much a lot of the time, like the snow, but
Right. Yeah, me either.
we're still very fortunate to be here. Well, you guys, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Nick Speaks, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. And I want to thank my guest, Community Life Engagement Project Manager Kelly Shuck, for being on my show today. It's been awesome to have you. Just stay right there. We're going to have a little bit of the conversation off air. And I just want to say, guys, check out my book one more time. It is Trailblazing and Transforming Entrepreneurial Stories of People with Disabilities. And if you can also contribute in any way to this podcast, I have a fundraising platform that is available in this bio. This is the Nick Speak in the bio, excuse me. This is the Nick Speaks podcast. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.